Welcome to the Redline Podcast, featuring co-presenters Bo, the Banksy of LinkedIn and founder at Javelin Content Management, Shane, CEO at Sales Driven, and Antoine, co-founder at Sales Driven, master of storytelling. Each week we will bring you advice, tips, and thoughts about sales, leadership, and share our experience on growing an effective business. Meet guests, enjoy the stories, and most importantly, have fun. This is Redline.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us for episode 5, Redline Sales and Business Podcast. My usual co-host, Antoine, who's been to every episode so far, apart from he's now off having his baby. So congratulations to Antoine.
Amazing.
Obviously, the baby will be like a month old by the time this gets aired, but never mind. Congrats. So yeah, again, we've had some more amazing feedback this week. Really excited to bring this week's guests to you. Last week's guest, Amita Rita, absolutely nailed it. We were spitting bullets.
That's awesome.
There's some insane opinions in there, and I loved it. It was a really fascinating conversation. I'm going to pick back up with him again in the not too distant future. But this week, we are joined by Andrew Booz from Potion. Welcome along to the show, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Great to see you guys again. I know it's been maybe a year or so, but I'm pumped to catch up and we can do it all live.
Absolutely. And Shane's joining us from his new pad in Morocco. Welcome back, Shane.
Oh, amazing. So are you living, is that like a residence? Are you living in Morocco?
I'm living on a golf course right now on the beach. And away from shitty England, because England is cold, grey, and miserable, and I just hate it. I'm so sick of it. So I wanted to come somewhere sunny. My wife lives here. I'll give you an example: paying about £3,000 a month in rent every month in England, and you can do the same thing here for the same place, nicer environment, sun all around. And you're paying like $500-600 a month. So it's like
Amazing.
Thailand, third world country kind of stuff.
Incredible. I think I actually drove by that development. I went to Morocco maybe 2 years ago. You're in Marrakesh?
No, I'm in Agadir right now.
Oh, okay. Got it. I drove by something very similar to that, like with the golf course on one side and new condo developments on the other.
They've got a ton of it.
Yeah,
they're building a ton of stuff building around here. And that's why it's interesting. They still don't use Uber, but they have another taxi service called EIR.
Okay.
And that kind of helps you get from place to place. But other than that, it's just a good environment to thrive, and you're happier every day when you wake up. And I've got another job that I'm working on right now for a new client, and I just needed I needed a different scene.
Yeah.
I needed a different environment. And I think that's one of the major things about being in sales, being a business owner. You have to be in the right mindset. You have to be in the right environment. And with all those things combined, you can actually thrive.
What, Shane?
Where are you sitting right now, Andrew? Because last time I spoke to you.
One second. Yeah. Can you play golf, and are you going to learn? Have you got time to learn?
I can drive a golf club through that ball like a champion. I have never played a single hole in my life.
I like to.
Golf is really hard.
English skills.
It is.
Fighting tough where I came from.
It always, isn't it? Andrew, where are you sitting right now? Where were you last time when we spoke?
I don't remember. So I moved into this unit. I've been in this building for 6 or 7 years. This is like one of the very few high rises in San Francisco. San Francisco's not doesn't have that built out of a downtown core. But I'm in a high rise condo. I converted my second bedroom to like this home office kind of thing. And I'm having fun with it. I got a nice view. So that's Salesforce Tower right behind me, and that's LinkedIn there. I've got Slack, you can't see it, but it's right down below. I've got Instagram, Facebook, a bunch of big law firms right in the middle of everything. But it's the exact opposite. It's just like you described England. It's like a little empty and gloomy. People are still moved out of town. It's like wildly expensive for what you get. But I mean, at least up until now, I've needed to be in the middle of things. And now, actually, I think I could probably do what you're doing and do it from anywhere. But I'm pretty entrenched at this point. So I don't know. It's a tough one. I like, I've looked at other places. Like I've done a month
Just,
and
just remove yourself from that picture frame, turn around, take a photo, get yourself a good green screen, move to Morocco,
yeah.
and then just have that photo behind you. Nobody will even know the difference. Good green screen, that's all you need.
Yeah. Hey guys,
It is very true. It actually is very true. Nobody would. So I'll tell you guys how I met Andrew, because it was, I think, the first year I joined Hype Cycle, which is one of the communities I'm in with Justin Michael, and a guy that I really, really respect, Gavin Price. He told me about a video software, and Marcus told me. I was looking at Vidyard, and I was looking at a number of other video companies, and they said, look at this company, Send Potion. They're doing AI voiceovers, and it's something new. There's 100 free videos, and I didn't believe it. And then I logged in, I looked at the solution, and I was hooked. And I think I had an opportunity to meet with Andrew one-on-one.
Yeah.
And Andrew, I think, like, if you were able to share your story, it'd be awesome too, because that's what inspired me. I spoke to Andrew, and Andrew told me that this was one of his second businesses, and he was doing the same thing as sales driven at first, and he was running his own agency. And for me, I needed some help with invoicing and clients paying on time.
Nice.
And I think the first thing you told me was tell the client to cut the service. If you're not gonna pay, cut the service. And I ended up doing that, and my client went batshit crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
But since that thing, but they paid the money. And then I went back to Andrew and I said, I did it. He goes, dude, you got some balls for saying that, because that's going to cause exactly the wrong thing. And I said, hey man, it worked. So thank you. And then ever since then, I've seen Andrew working on Send Potion, and it's grown. I think it was a couple of hundred customers when I looked at it. I think there's 4,000 or something from there.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's amazing to finally be reconnected with somebody who's been on the journey. He's on his second business. He's exited his first, and he's doing great things with this. And it takes us into the conversation of video being underutilized. It's underperforming with people who don't know how to use it. So from a professional that does know how to use it, you see, he's got the cool hair and everything. He's got the look. So if you go to his website, you'll see what he's about. But in terms of just Andrew being the full package on learning how to do video, this is why we have him on today's show. So Andrew, I'm going to hand it over to you and tell the world what you're about and why Send Potion is the new go-to for video in sales.
Amazing. Hey Shane, you're making me blush, man. It's too bad this is like, come on. That was a hell of a lead in. You'll have to fix it in post, Paul. You have to. Yeah. So I've been doing this sales thing since I started working. Really, I mean, as a busboy in like high school and college, I was like worked at restaurants, bartenders, stuff like that, which I actually think helps a lot in your career and in sales. But I started in college doing a startup with my sort of buddies who are engineers. And we were kind of too dumb to realize how dumb we were. And we just thought we'd go out and try this like tech startup thing that we were sure would work and make us all billionaires in like 6 months. And, off we went. So, we're very young. We tried that. We raised a little bit of money in China. We raised a little bit of money. We actually tried launching in China, which was a horrible disaster. We had this ad network that cross-promoted mobile games. If you guys remember when Zynga went public and like mobile gaming was just exploding. So we were, a bunch of little 21-year-olds like trying to make it in the world. Got kicked around the whole time. We moved to Palo Alto here in the San Francisco Bay Area to do another tech accelerator where we kind of learned the ropes of startups. We ended up essentially not getting anywhere. We raised a little bit of money. We had a couple of partnerships and customers. We were very lucky to actually find a buyer for the business. So we got acquired, but it wasn't a huge exit. It was enough to pay our investors back double, which for them was fine. But it really didn't change anyone's lives. So that was our first little venture into this. And I was always the sales guy, the go-to-market guy, the partnerships guy, everything but tech and product. From there, I did a company that Sutter Hill Ventures started. So they do these big incubations. They did NVIDIA and Snowflake and just these really big infrastructure incubations. again, I was the first non-technical guy, set up their sales team, set up their inside sales function, got all the tools wired together, and ended up running their inside sales team, which is essentially what Driven did, the agency, and what Darwinian did, which was my agency, where, you set up a team and all they do is just bang on doors all day long. So they go and make cold calls, they go on LinkedIn, they send emails. All they do is try to find and unearth, potential customers for their business. So that's where I learned the ropes there. That business ended up raising 90 million or so. They got bought by Cisco. Again, it wasn't a crazy exit. Like no one really became, you know, no one was retiring off of it. But we got the logo. Cisco bought us. That was very exciting. So that's when, and that's when I started this agency. So I did a third company that was a horrible mistake. I put all my money into it, lost everything. I was 100 grand in debt, like fucking ruined. And I had been a pretty cocky little shit up until then because I'd had these like, experiences and whatnot. Anyway, I got my ass completely kicked on the third one. And I was, again, I was 100 grand in debt sitting on my couch. And I just started doing contract work as a BDR and as a head of sales for brand new companies. So that's the beginning of my agency experience, which led to Potion. So I sat there on my couch with my laptop, and for a couple grand a month, I would set up their HubSpot and like start doing cold emails, start doing cold calls, start finding them business and closing deals for them. So I did that for 3-4 months. And then very slowly I realized all these things that I didn't recognize were assets. All my friends were entrepreneurs, which was pretty cool. I knew all these accelerators because I had been through them. And I was able to find a ton of startups that had no clue about how to run outbound and how to run sales in general. Like they didn't know what the letter CRM stood for, let alone how to set it up and use it and all that. So I'd kind of unearthed this little nugget of a market here in Silicon Valley, and I slowly grew that agency into what it is today. So right now it's 27 people. We've launched about 43 companies. We set up the full team. So there's a fractional VP of sales. There's a full-time dedicated salesperson. There's a sales ops person who does the data and the tooling and all that stuff. And we just get in there and excuse me, and we try to get them to their first million in revenue. So that's Darwinian Ventures. It's at darwinian.com. And it's been fun, man. Like it's been horribly tough, Shane. Like the amount of times I've had to go and bang on doors for invoices, like the rent is motherfucking due. And these guys try to take their time. They're like, "Oh, I thought I sent it." Like, like you really have to like chase it down. And sometimes the market doesn't even want their product. So like we don't have anything to show for it. So we'll go out and try selling, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, and then we're like, "Dude, the rent is due." They're like, "I don't want to pay," and it turns into this like nightmarish thing. But over the course of a million failures and a million mistakes, we slowly got our shit together to where we have a pretty tightly run operation now. We got some great folks. I got a great team of revenue leaders. They're all, doing good. We got SDRs that are doing good. I think we've gotten 12 businesses to their first million in ARR now. So that's our big metric. And then we have a bunch that are on the way. We have a whole handful that are working on it. And then that's how we found Potion. So the Potion story is really interesting. It's also traumatizing. It was very tough. You guys remember when the world shut down for COVID lockdown, like the very first time, like the whole world, lights were canceled, everything shut down. Well, we're running an outbound agency. It's like a low margin little shop where you cold call and send emails and stuff like that. It went to zero, like immediately, one day to the next. Nobody answered the phone. No one answered the emails. No one was on LinkedIn. No one was doing anything.
Yeah.
And so within a week, every one of our clients terminated. They said, "Sorry, man, we can't keep going." Like terminate. And we really freaked out. Like I thought I was gonna have to lay off like 20 people and close our doors. I was like gonna go back to being 100 grand in debt on the couch. Like I was really, really scared. And so the only thing that worked was so the way our contracts are, we have a 30-day termination notice. So even if they terminate, we have 30 days. So we were just on this Hail Mary, like survival death march thing where we were just trying to keep ourselves afloat. The one thing that worked was sending videos. So we used Vidyard, not to plug them because they're our competitors now, but we sent Vidyard videos and we sat there for 3-4 hours a day sending, like, just shooting the exact same message, but to a different name. We'd say, "Hey, Paul, my name's Andrew. I'd love to show you this product." We'd say, "Hey, Shane, my name's Andrew. I'd love to show you this product. Hey, Megan, my name's Andrew. I'd love to blah, blah, blah." Fucking 3 hours, 4 hours a day. We would just do that again and again because it worked really well. We got really good replies from sending heartfelt personal videos, and everything else wasn't working. So, you know, uh, through that, we were able to save the agency. We had to do some other crazy things too. I don't even want to talk about it. It was like dark. I had to sell PPE. So like, we had like shipping containers of gloves and masks. And all of a sudden there were people that normally didn't buy PPE, like grocery stores. They had to buy mountains of PPE. So we would sit there and cold call into grocery stores and like hardware stores, like car washes, and just sell fucking millions of dollars of gloves and masks and all that stuff. So I made enough commission on that to make payroll. We were very close to not making payroll, but I made enough commission there to make payroll. For a couple months. And then we also took all sorts of clients that were just not a fit, but normally we would never take them. But it was really funny. Like, we took a physical security company. You guys remember all the riots? Well, we had a bodyguard and like private security company, and we were doing sales for them. So we called like jewelry stores and said, "Hey, do you guys need a big scary guy with a gun to stand out in front of your door?" And they were like, "Yes, please."
Wow.
So
Dude.
Only in America.
only in America, yeah, exactly. So between security guards, PPE, and sending videos, we were able to survive COVID. Obviously, security guards and PPE went away, but sending videos was really, really interesting for us. And I had found Kanad, my co-founder, who, was a super brilliant tech guy. I'm not technical at all. I'm a, sales guy. And he had this AI video thing that could dub out the name, and that alone would save us 4 hours a day. And we could AI generate videos for any recipient where we greeted them by their first name. And I like wept with joy. I was so happy. I was like, "Hey, if you can do that, man, then like we've got a real product here." So that's how Potion started. So we spun it out as a separate startup, and we were really lucky. We were able to raise enough capital to get started. And it really was tough the first year because the AI looked brutal, but it's slowly getting really good. Like, it's pretty realistic, and we're just starting to hit our stride. We're closing a bunch of great companies. We have SAP working with Potion now. We have, Gorgeous. We're starting to get a whole bunch of agencies. So Shane, I'll go into detail on that. For sure, because agencies are able to finally do higher margin work and make money by doing scalable video prospecting. So that's kind of how it all started. That's like a little bit on my background and how we got into the agency world, and then how we got into Potion. So a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but
And I think the thing you said is one thing again. I have a way to increase profit margins or increase the amount of money you can make through sending scalable videos.
Yep.
And that, even just as a product alone, cold calling, you can charge 7,000, 8,000 pounds, dollars for one rep to get on the phone like a monkey and call all day and possibly send a couple of emails. People are selling emails for what, 2,000, 3,000 pounds, dollars, euros a month. And then again, videos take time. So if we, without telling them, I'm not saying to be sneaky, but if we said, "Do you know this would take 4 or 5 hours of our time to do this many videos?" I'm charging 10 grand.
Yes, you are.
A month.
Yeah. And you're collecting too. Yeah, you better. Yeah, it's a real game changer, like a real game changer. Because, okay, so the thing with the whole agency market in general, at least my experience has been that it's wildly competitive. So competing against, the Philippines, South America, like this week, I'm going to this South American conference. All those agencies, there's a ton of them where their costs are 1/5 of our costs, and they're doing the same cold emailing sequences and answering, and even they're doing cold calling as well. And you're competing against those types of groups. So, if you're a local, US, Canada, UK, like that type of thing, it's bloody. It's like a bloodbath.
Very hard.
Competitive. It's very tough to differentiate yourself. Tough to get results. So Potion finally lets you be this tier 1 agency where you have to be presentable because you're going on camera. So you got to be really presentable. You got to be tier 1. it should be a game changer, and it has been for our first cohort of agency customers.
You think, Andrew, that like, listening to that story there, I think it sounded like the turning point was meeting your kind of technical founder for Portion. I genuinely
Yeah,
talk to a lot of founders, and I think this is something that it's a skill set that's missing. And if you're a technical minded person who's working in sales, I think there's an opening for a lot of people, because this is where I learned my trade, right? It was like, I'm not a programmer. Like, I could be if I wanted to, but
yeah,
it's not really my thing. Like, I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I'm mid technical is what I call it, operations, processes, and things like that. But the value that somebody like that can bring to a business where you've got the ideas, you've got the strategy, you just need somebody who can take that and run with it. Or if we connect
right.
these three platforms together with this bit of automation, we can do this, this, and this, and it gets us to a start point. That's all you need, right? Let's
Yeah.
just need that kick in the ass to start.
Well, I wouldn't have even known it was possible. So I guess, I don't know. That is one thing I'm always super grateful for, is when a technical person comes in and says, "Hey, have you considered XYZ?" And I haven't even, like, my brain doesn't even know that pathway exists. So, for him, it was very obvious. It's like, duh, why don't you just use AI to dub the names? And I was like, what? You kidding?
I that's one thing. That's one piece of advice I've been told a lot is you like for me, my mind operates in a very, very fast, peculiar way,
Mhm.
and I am very sales, manual labor orientated, which is in some cases outdated. I have learned to adapt to technology.
Yeah,
However, one of my weaknesses was always on the technology side, and I do believe that if I had worked with a technical founder
right.
that could kind of bring my imagination to life through data and through the operational process, I think that technical aspect would have changed a lot for us. I know something that I'm working on right now, but I think another thing that's important for the people that are watching that do want to change the way they work, or they want to scale their businesses from X to whatever.
Mhm.
One thing that you demonstrated quite clearly was that even through a tough time, which is what we are experiencing in 2023, we're supposed to go
Right.
through a recession. Biden is making all these crazy choices. Putin is telling us he's going to bomb the fucking world. And you made something happen out of a tough situation. And I think
Yeah.
if the viewers knew that just because shit gets hard, you can still make it, you can still think differently, and being pushed into those corners during these hard times really does stimulate something very, very different inside you, that when you do create it and you execute on those ideas, you make shit happen. And look at that, from being in that situation where the entire world shut down
Yeah.
to fulfilling your business duties, getting payroll done, and then creating. So this is company number 3 for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it depends how you count, but yeah.
Company 3. This is
Yeah.
company 3 for you, and that's fucking incredible. And it was all out of hard times. So,
Well, you have to count the disaster too. So it's actually company 4, but one of them was a complete, like,
well,
failure.
that's even better. That's even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just it's again, it's the inspiration. Like, I want the inspiration of people knowing you don't have to be some fucking global genius to make shit happen. You just have to. My thing is always, you have to execute. Ideas, talk, all that means dog shit without
Mhm.
execution. And the points you have made is every business opportunity, no matter if it, I don't care if it fails, fail fast, like Amir says, but you execute it on every single occasion.
Yeah.
And now he's sitting behind fucking Salesforce Tower.
Yeah. Look, man, I don't know. It all still feels pretty fragile, but we're on the right trajectory, which is really, really exciting. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'm a huge believer in those points that you just made. Like, I think it's really, really important. I think that adaptability is even more important than intelligence.
Mhm.
So if you can adapt to changing dynamics and changing environment, the reason I love the name Darwinian. So my core sales agency is called Darwinian Ventures, and I bought Darwinian.com like when I was a kid. Um, because, you can't ignore the environment. The environment will shape you. And if you're adaptable to it, and you evolve, you can just absolutely dominate. And you don't have to be the most terrifying king of the jungle. In fact,
Yep.
sometimes that can go against you. If the environment isn't right for that, don't do that. The other thing that's really cool about volatility that I've sort of learned, man, I don't come from anything. I don't have a trust fund. Like my dad was blue collar. Like the fact that, okay, so when the world's like all shaky and weird, that's really
Mm-hmm.
scary if you have something to lose. If you don't have anything to lose, it's awesome. Like
Yep.
you're going to see like clients that are not happy with their entrenched, incumbent service providers. There's an opportunity for you. You're going to see, deals like you can rent stuff cheaper, you can hire people cheaper, you can, there's going to be all sorts of just stuff that are assets for you. So, it's actually wonderful if you're in a position of being able to adapt and maneuver and find opportunities and look for stuff and the things that you have, maybe you don't have much to lose, or if you have stuff to lose, it's like protected or you're able to be adaptable with it, then volatility can be an enormous gift too. So you'll learn and you kind of have to learn. It's like sink or swim. I always use the expression that you can't learn how to swim in a classroom, you really can't. You got to jump in the pool. And if you don't jump in the pool,
Yep.
you could spend 10 years in the classroom and you would still drown if you fell into the water. So, you really got to jump in and you got to immerse yourself in it and you got to expose yourself to real danger. And you can learn and adapt and thrive. And I think that's all encapsulated in this Darwinian brand. And I love it. And I love that you brought up all those points.
Well, he's taken a leap of faith too, and I think
Yeah.
in these times, I went through a very similar situation with Sales Driven towards the end of the year. Again, you asked the client, listen, right before Christmas, I said to the client, you need to pay your fucking bill.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we want to pay this much. I'm not going to drop their name, but I'm taking them to court right now and I'm going to rinse them dry.
Okay.
And on the 23rd of December,
Oh,
I had to call the team and tell them I couldn't make payroll. 2 days before Christmas. Hardest thing I ever had to do because
Yeah.
I was always a man of my word. I was always figuring out ways to make shit happen. And this time I couldn't pull through. I couldn't pull through. And one of the things we were looking at is, hey, do we shut down the business? And a good mentor in my life has always been my father, same blue collar job, 9 to 5, but that did very well. We grew up in New Jersey in a great town. And he said, buckle up and get your fucking head right and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck's sake, all right. That's a great plan, Dad. And then I went
Right to the point.
out,
Cutting.
right? And then I figured out a way, and I called HMRC, figured out plans with them. I called other companies, I figured out plans with them. And I started working in a very different way. I modified the business. I streamlined the business. I leaned out my operation. I got rid of wasteful people.
Yeah.
And out of that, I landed a 100K contracting job where I'm working with a company right now on some legal and compliance tech.
Mhm.
Another company that I'm working with, they're $1 billion annual recurring revenue banking organization. They're partnered with Microsoft. I've got a big contract there. And then me and Paul have launched a second business together, which is called Ideas Exchange. And it's based on private networking and roundtables. And we're going to bring an element of AI and tech to it in the very near future. But what I'm alluding to is these times really do create massive amounts of wealth. It is where generational wealth can be created if you do the right thing. So what would you say to Paul? I've had plenty of jokes with Paul about starting a business and how much of a head fuck it actually can be. But what's one piece of advice you'd give to Paul about you develop content, you drive content, he's building a content management agency and he works with some fucking amazing people.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice you would give him on if he wants to reach $1 million in revenue or be comfortable, which I don't agree with, what would you tell him?
Okay. So
where do I start?
I mean, look, the thing with business in general, it comes down to 2 words. It's like, don't die. Like, just keep it going, man. And you'd actually be surprised, even when you think you're the closest. Like even when you think you're the closest to disaster, you're actually a little further away than you think usually. I don't know if you guys follow this David Goggins guy. He's a little bit mental. He's a bit of a psycho, but I kind of dig his like mindset. He's like, if you're like, he does these
Don't be a
ultra
little
running.
bitch.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Like, I heard this voice in my head. It sounded like a bitch. So I went and did it anyways, you know? It's like, I think, like, it's a little less psycho, but like, his whole thing is like, just get comfortable with discomfort and
Yep.
fucking get it done. And you'll be surprised at how much further you can go than you think. And I think that's a really, really, like, you don't have to do what he does. He goes and runs like 100 miles with broken shins kind of thing. Like, it's completely nuts. You don't have to do it quite that extreme, but like, you can go a lot further than you think. And even when you think you're close to the end, you're actually, there's like something you could do. Like, we had a couple payroll cycles where, similar to you, Shane, the numbers didn't, like, the arithmetic didn't work. So we had to reduce, we had to like, we had to give pay cuts, and I took them, everyone took them. Like, it was like 20% less. Sorry. Like, that's it. And the nice thing was, no one had anything to spend money on either, because everything was closed. So it didn't really hurt. I don't think it hurt that bad. Most people were getting discounts on a lot of stuff. So like, there was like, I don't know, in San Francisco, there's some rent allowances given, and there's like a few little things here and there. So cutting people's salary by 20% wasn't disastrous, but the alternative was zero. It was like, you know, we can also just not run payroll. Like, and then everyone's like, okay, we're in this, like, we're in this together. Like,
together.
we'll take a 5% haircut. That's fine. So that was one of them. And then this PPE thing, like, came out of nowhere, and we were able to survive on that. But yeah, Paul, just don't die, and rest assured that there's always options. And
True
like, the
story.
vision of being able to sustain yourself with your own business activity is spectacular, and it's wonderful. And most people live and die without ever getting close to it. So even if you're just not dying and you're doing it, you're killing it, man.
You're
Like,
winning.
who cares?
man.
Even if you're living in your
Yeah,
car,
absolutely.
man. I've met a bunch of guys that are billionaires, and they lived in their cars for bits. Like, they sold. I just met the former owner of Patron Tequila. He was also the co-founder of Paul Mitchell, like, shampoo and conditioner empire.
Mhm.
He's worth multiple billions. He used to drive around sleeping in his car and sold his shampoo out of his trunk, you know?
Wow.
So for him, he was living the dream, man. He was sustaining his life out of his business activities, and he was literally living like a homeless guy. But it didn't matter, because he was doing it, and he wasn't going to let anything stop him, you know? And now he flies a boat with, like, he's got like a 100-meter boat and like all this crazy stuff. But he used to just have a
I think
little
it all
niche
comes
spot.
down to what you want to achieve, with it,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah, sure.
set your goals. You have, everybody has the things that they want to achieve, right? And it's just kind of, it's just getting there and doing your own thing. Like, my wife works in childcare, right? Like, there's a whole different world to her. She doesn't even understand half the shit that I do. I'm like, oh yeah, we've got a new client, we're doing this, that. And she's like, oh, so how much are you charging for half a morning's work? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's like £400. She's like, well, like, double that is my monthly wage. What are you doing for that? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to rock up about 10 minutes beforehand. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to go home. She's like, really? And you're going to get paid for that? I'm like, oh, I'll send them a PDF afterwards. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What was the, I want to say one little quote that I've mentioned to you, Paul, and then I'll ask you a question. What was the changing moment for you where you said, I need to go out and do this on my own? And before you answer that, to add like a bit of context to this entire piece, there's a quote that I sat at dinner with this private equity investor. He sold his business for 135 million.
Wow.
And I was blown away, right? And now this is the company he's scaling. He's done it with a few other ones. And he said, Shane, you didn't create this cash flow issue. You're not the only one. I said, yeah, thanks, genius. I know that. And he said, you're 3 months away from bankruptcy, but you're 6 months away from being a millionaire. And that for me sounded so real, because it really is like just a couple of months, just as long as you don't give up and you break over that hurdle, you will do it. But for the people who are listening, Paul, and maybe to get some inspiration from Andrew, obviously, who's run the mill a couple of times. I'm now on my second, third journey. What was the changing moment for you that you were working in a role and then you said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to go and do this for myself?
I just thought, like, I was spending more and more time doing stuff that I was enjoying less and less. And I just thought, like, there's money to be made in the bits that I enjoy doing. and I can make more money doing it myself than I can here. And, you know, something that's really important to me is helping other people. That's what gets me out of bed on a morning, right? And it sounds ludicrous, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's money, it's family, it's all the rest. I'm like, no, I enjoy helping people. And for me, you know, being able to go out there and help way more businesses than just the one I was working in was really important for me to just go out and do it. And then,
Yeah.
you know, kind of land that first customer. I was, you know, people say I was fortunate. I networked hard for 3 years. I networked hard for 3 years in that
Yeah.
sales position. And, you know, I brought in that first client before it even left the full-time position to go and do the own business. So that was kind of the turning point for me, is I just thought, you know what, I want to spend more time doing more of the stuff that I enjoy doing. And I want to
Right.
be the one making the decisions, because I'm, you know, like, it's just time. Like I'm
So
40,
much better.
it's
Making
time.
your own decision is so much better.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
much better.
It's very real. It's very gripping. Like, you can't sleepwalk anymore. I think that's what always drew me to it.
No.
It's like, hey, you know, you can kind of sleepwalk through most of your life, but, you know, you can't sleepwalk through swimming. You know, if you're in a deep body of water, you can't sleepwalk. So that's why I love that analogy so much.
Yeah.
You can't sleepwalk through running a business either. Like, you got to be really dialed, because
do.
decisions have real consequences. Everything kind of has ripple on effects. And even all the little things that you might cut corners on, they'll come back to you 10 times over. So you got to like be really diligent. But at the end of the day, like, you're building a thing that's yours. Like, it's really amazing. It's really cool.
Run everything
It's usually way
100 miles
shittier
an
and
hour.
harder in the short term, but then there's no go alive.
One last question then before we one last question before we wrap up then, Andrew. And it's a question that's always interested me, is what would 8-year-old Andrew think of Andrew who sits here now? Are you the man that you wanted to be?
Oh,
What did
man.
you want to be when you were 8?
Wow.
A fireman. That's what most people say.
Yeah, what the hell? You're not an astronaut? Like, you betrayed
Don't
me.
play Pokemon cards?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good question, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. What would 8-year-old Andrew? I know, like, 15-year-old Andrew would be pretty pumped. But 8-year-old
Yeah.
Andrew is, I mean, 8-year-old Andrew is still pretty dumb. I mean, not the 15-year-old Andrew.
The reason I asked that question is because I bumped into a guy a few weeks ago and he said, Doc, Paul, there's only 2 people that you ever need to impress in the whole world. And that's 8-year-old you and 80-year-old you. 8-year-old you is the one with all the
Oh, I
dreams and
love that.
ambitions. And the 80-year-old you is the guy that lived the life that you're living. So if you can impress both those guys, you're doing well, and you don't need to impress anybody else. The rest of it is on you.
I agree.
I love that. Okay. Yeah. I think 8-year-old me would probably be pretty happy, I think. I mean, there'd be a bunch of things where he's like, hey, you really could have played a lot of these things a lot better. But I think he'd be happy directionally. Guys.
How many hours a
think
day
that's-
do you play Call of Duty now?
There's another quote that hit me. So there's another quote that hit me, which again, I was always big on this, because when I moved back here from the US after a stint for being a little bit of a bad boy, I was
Okay.
all into Eric Thomas, and the one thing I was needing something so bad, like it's oxygen. You, like, if you don't need it like oxygen, it doesn't really matter. But something that followed that was, when you die and go to meet your maker, you
Mhm.
will meet the man you were supposed to be.
Yeah,
You've
That's
heard that
heavy.
one, right? And that
That's
for
heavy.
me was like, dude, if I meet Shane 2.0 and he's better than me, I'm fucking him up.
Yeah.
Or he'll probably fuck me up. So
Yeah, you
again,
probably for sure be honest.
I need to hit that end goal, and that's what pushes me every day. Like, I can't be a chump. I can't be a bitch. And Grant Cardone, it's nothing derogatory. Grant Cardone says it. David Goggins says it. He doesn't get any shit. And I never want to be a has-been, right?
Yeah.
I've watched people around me that were successful or did great things and talked all this game. And like I said, you either are about it or you're not. You either walk the
Yeah.
walk or you don't. And if you don't, shut the fuck up and sit back because I'm coming through like a steam train.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. And it's helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot in all my trials and tribulations. And that's why I think I'm here today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
amazing. I couldn't agree more. It's exciting stuff. Onwards and upwards.
That's right. Yeah, it's been energizing. I've enjoyed this chat. It's good. Like, and I like this. I like this on the Red Line podcast. If anybody's just joined us halfway through the series, go back and listen to the reps, because every single one of the episodes that we've recorded is really, really energized. And I love that kind of atmosphere on the show, because it's, you know, it's what you need to get through your day. If you want to listen to a podcast on your dinner break and you're in a corporate job, you need to listen to this shit, because you'll be entrepreneurial before you've even finished your dinner break. Let's go do this.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. Been a real pleasure having you
Okay.
along.
Yeah, great to see you guys.
Let's catch up. Take care.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Andrew.